plans to start with Kubernetes with Python, but I'll let you know. Okay, now did I add the package just to make sure? Hold on. Yeah, yes, I added it. Okay, so let me install. So I run the apt update. Yes. Now let's install this one. So it's installing the Docker application, guys. Now, when you install the Docker, right, what will happen? It will install two things. One is called as a Docker client. The other one is called Docker engine. So if I type Docker, right, now you'll get all the commands. See, earlier it was saying that Docker is not installed. Right now, if you see, it is showing, yes, it is done, right? You're getting some response. Now, if I go here, Docker and type version, now two things will be visible for you. One is Docker version, Docker client, actually here client Docker. Don't worry about Docker engine community. That means it's called Docker CE. That means community edition. It's a free edition. You have an enterprise edition also. I think they have sold it to Mirantis, I think so. Docker has sold their enterprise version to Mirantis. Okay. Is it required Python knowledge to Kubernetes? Not required, actually. For only for management of Kubernetes, it's not required. But the reason I'm actually want to say Kubernetes plus Python is it's an introduction, like not introduction, I'll say like, see, the coming days will be very tough, guys. Without not having, at least you should be capable enough seeing the code, understanding the code. If you don't understand and do some sort of coding, right, you will become legacy. Okay. Anyway, so you see in the Docker engine, you have something called as a client as well as a server. Okay. Now, what is Docker client is whatever the commands you are typing. For example, Docker, right? If I click Docker, all these commands, this is actually coming from the client. Actually, all these commands will come from the client. It is the server or Docker engine server. It is engine, and if you see, if I go here, this is version here. This is engine. This is the one you actually running the containers. Now you can ask me why we have to, where exactly, what is the use case for this one? The use case, let me tell you, when we go end of the Docker, right, I'm going to have a same like Terraform, I'm going to have a Jenkins. I'm going to have Jenkins server, and Docker is installed in this one, Docker installed. Now I'll have one more server where actually you want to run the containers. It is also having the Docker installed, by the way. Both have the Docker installed. Now when I'm deploying the containers using the Jenkins, right, what I'll do, I'm going to use the Docker commands, but I'm going to use only Docker CLI, because if in Jenkins server I'm going to run Docker create, Docker run, everything, right? So I'm going to use Docker client here and run the commands, and it will the containers will run in the here actually, which is Docker engine. So both have Docker client and engine, but I'm going to use Docker client on the Jenkins and deploy the containers, which will be deployed on the other server which has the engine. So in here that I can say like, so due to some reason my GoToMeeting is behaving weirdly. Give me 1 minute, guys. Okay, let's put me like this. Okay, here this one, right, this one will run the containers, whereas this one we are going to use only the client. Okay, that is what we are trying to do. Fine. Okay, so that's why we have a Docker client as well as Docker engine, guys. But here in this case, I'm going to run the containers as well as run the commands here itself, but I'm talking about the future. So I have, as you see, I have the Docker install, which is 1903. Earlier, right, sometimes you might there is a chance they'll say like 1.12 Docker, 1.13. If you came across something like this, that means these are old versions. From 2007 they changed into this one. So that means I think it is 2019 they have released a stable version of 2019. In the March they have deleted, but I don't know about the 6th one. But 19 means it's a 2019. Okay, good. Now as you can see, I have the Docker installed. Good, fine. Now what's next? Somehow we managed to install all the Docker and everything. Good. Now we need to run the containers. Now what you need to understand, if you go to the EC2, let me show you. If I try to run or try to create a VM, what I'm doing, I'm going to launch instance, and I'm selecting something. What exactly I'm selecting, guys? I'm selecting a image basically. That means whatever the EC2 server or virtual machine in Azure, AWS, doesn't matter. The one right now it is deployed, it is basically took the image from somewhere else, which is a AMI ID, and created a machine. You really did not install operating system, right? You never do that. You are not launching an instance, put the CD, install operating system. No, right? You're not doing it. So you are actually utilizing the existing images and deploying the servers or virtual machines. The same thing is applicable for even for Docker as well. Okay. So Docker, you can't simply run any containers without the image. So you need to have an image. That is where you're going to download the images, which is called Docker Registry. Say Docker Registry. So now, what exactly registry and what is repository? Some people might ask you in interview. Now, let Docker own registries. I can go to new, say hub.docker.com. hub.docker.com. This is basically the registry of the Docker. Okay, what exactly is a repository? So let me show you the diagram. See, there are different types of registry, guys. Okay, not only Docker. Let me show you what are the different registries I know. I'm going to draw 4 actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, what are the different registries you are aware of? For the first one is the one which we are doing actually, which is hub.docker.com. It can be when you are accessing from Kubernetes, right? You're going to use something like this, index.docker.io. You need to access in such a way. Okay, anyway, hub.docker.com is basically the one of the Docker own registry. And second, if you go for AWS, right, it is called as ECR, which is Elastic Container Registry. Okay, so how it looks like, if you go here, instances, if you go here, it's here. See, ECR, Elastic Container Registry. If you go to Azure, right, it is actually called as ACR. That means ACR stands for Azure Container Registry, or they simply called as Container Registry, guys. But I'm going to say ACR because when you create it, it will show ACR only. So I'll say ACR, which is Azure Container Registry. And you can also have GC, but I don't remember. I think Google Container Registry. I don't remember it, but I simply say Google Container like this. You can also have your own registries, guys. You can put like inside your office, right, offline, like inside your data center. You can have it. But I'm just trying to say container registry. Okay, fine. What exactly contain in a registry? Registries contain repositories. Okay, registries contain repositories. So I'm going to show you this repository. So just compare something like this. You compare the registry as a GitHub. Actually, GitHub is also registry, right? But only thing is it is actually host the code actually, not the images. So you can compare that like hub.docker.com to github.com. So in github.com you will have repositories which has the code, right? Similarly, hub.docker.com or other things or other registries also contain repos, but they don't host the code, they host the images. So I'll say repo repo 2, repo 3. Okay, repositories. And inside each repository, now you tell me like I take a repository in GitHub, right? If I take, okay, let's take an example here. I'll say like github.com for example. I'll take this one. Now this is, imagine this is hub.docker.com. These are the repositories inside. If I go inside here, I have This is the one repository. That means this is in the picture, right? What I'm trying to say, this is one repo actually. So in GitHub, inside the repo, what you can have files, and you can have multiple branches, guys. You can have multiple branches. Similarly, even in this repo, you can have multiple image versions. I can say like Nginx. You can give tags as version 1. Like this. So similarly, in another repository, what you can have, so you can actually come here. I'm going to say Nginx, okay, Java app v1, v2, v3, v4, like this. And here you're going to say like here .NET app v1, like different versions of images basically. Okay, so this will be version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. Like this, you can have different images, guys. So that is what a registry is. Registries contain repositories. Repositories contain images. If I show you in the GitHub here, sorry, my Docker registry, let me log in. In the Docker registry, you can have your own registry. Everything is a public registry, guys, because you can access anything here. What I do is, if I further come down, let me see if I can able to, okay, if I go to rolling update, and if I see, I have 3 images, guys, here. See, v1, v2, v3. Okay, version 1, like this. So hub.docker.com is the registry, and rolling update is the repository. Inside that one, I have 3 images, version 1, version 2, version 3. This is a registry, repository, and image. Are we clear? Any questions here? Guys, are we clear? Yes, no, all right, 50-50. Okay, excellent. Let's start. Now we know that, so based upon this one, what I'm trying to say is, if you want to run any container, it is very mandatory, you need to have some sort of a container image. How can I download the container image? So if you can use something like, okay, I'll go back here, let me show you. They'll tell you, if I go up, they'll say if you want to push it, you can push it, but you can also download it. Something like, you can use Docker pull and give it, and it will download. Now the thing you need to understand is, I'll say Docker pull. Okay, so when you're using Docker engine, right, you can directly give your image and repository and image. So it is Sriharsha is my registry, right, and repo is rolling update. Now if you see, in this rolling update, I have version 1, version 2, version 3, guys. You need to mention which version you want to do. If you don't give anything, if you hit enter, it will take latest as a default and check it out, and it will say I'm not able to find anything. Okay, because there is no latest. So that's why you need to give. If you don't give anything, it will download the latest. If the latest is not available, it say I'm not able to find it. So what I can do, I can give v3. Now what it will do, before that one, I want to show you. If I say Docker images, by the way, sorry, Docker images, you see nothing is there. Docker image is empty. I don't have any sort of image. So what I'm supposed to do, is I'm going to download the image and check it out, what will happen. So for that, Docker pull Sriharsha rolling update version 1, 2, or 3. I'll just give 3, hit enter. Rolling update, yes, then there is incorrect name. Okay, rolling update version 3. Now what it is doing is, it is actually downloading it. So it's downloaded. If I type Docker images, then you can see there is the repository is sriharshavi/rolling update, and version tag is 3, and the image ID is this one, and this was created a year ago, almost like 11 months. Okay, Right, okay, I got the image ready. Now I need to run the container. Fine, how to run the container? So you need to use command something called as docker run, guys. Docker run, hit enter, and it should show container saying that one. You need to give docker run. You can give what is the name of the container, what is the name inside the container, and what you want to run, everything. Okay, so let me show it to you simply how to run simply. I'll say I'm not going to give any names or something. I'm going to simply docker run hyphen it. It means, or you can give ti also. I means interactive, t for terminal. So simply put, it will create a container and it will log in inside a container. So I'll say docker run hyphen it. Okay, so what is the image? I can say like put Sri Harshavi, it will autofill. I'll say version 3. Okay. Now, once the container runs, where exactly I need to go? I want to go into the bin bash actually. That means I want to start a container and go inside the container. Right now, if you see, okay, right now I'm in root at the rate of 10.1.100, guys. Okay, the moment hit enter, now if you see, my prompt has changed. My prompt also, I got the root actually, but I got some alphanumeric number here, right? What exactly is it? Is a container, guys. Let me show it to you. I'm going to right click and duplicate this session. I'm going to log into the Linux. Now how do you know what are the containers running? You can simply type docker ps. If I put docker ps, it is showing me there is one container. The container id is ending with 04b. If you see here, that is the host name, right? That means when I run docker run hyphen it and this image and bin bash, right, it has created a container inside that and it went inside to the bin bash. That is what happened. Now actually you are inside a container. Now if you want to come outside the container, don't type exit control c everything, press control pq. If you press control p and q, hold the control, press p and q, and you will come out of the container. And if I go, because if you exit it, right, sometimes it will end the container. So docker, if I type ps, now you see the container is still running. Okay, this is how you can run the container, but there is no use of this one.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, one more question.
Mhm.
If I create a registry rolling update, right? So how do we do that? Our own registry.
Sorry, I understand. So you're talking about you want to create your own images.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I'll explain it. Still time is there. Hold on. Okay.
Okay.
It's a big process. So big process means you need to explain detailedly, but we'll talk it later. Just concentrate on this right now. Now,
Okay. Okay.
now if you see the container is running, guys, the problem here is how can you connect the container? You came out of the container, right? If you want to go inside the container, olden days, right, people used to use docker attach actually, but now sometimes it will work, it might not work. So what you need to do is you need to use docker exec, okay, again hyphen it, and give the container name. Actually basically it is, see, the container name is this one, guys, infallible battery. Normally if you don't give any name, it will take some random name using an algorithm. The algorithm will be something like this. It will use a human emotion and it will actually use a scientist name. So I really don't know who is Bartik. So let me see if he's some physicist or something is there. If you Google around, you might find some famous person with that name. So I'll go to Google, and if I type here Bartik, right? So Bartik instrument, okay, who is this guy? Okay, genes, maybe she or may not be, but Bartik studied mathematics Pennsylvania, so he's one of the original programmers for the ENIC computer. Okay, so she's one of the famous person, right? So similarly, what you need to understand is it's also left side will be your human emotion basically. If I copy and give it here, okay, incapable of making mistakes or being wrong. So normally whenever you create a container, left side will be a human emotion or human tendency and right side will be the person's name or the famous person, some physicist, whatever the scientist name. Okay, now if you want to connect to this one, What you can do, okay, I think I'm using a different console. Hold on, yeah, this one. Docker exec infinity, I can actually give inf, hit the tab. It will basically autofill the name actually. Or you can also give the container ID also, guys. Container ID also, but I never tried using. Let me see. I can use it. I'll give a container ID, and then you need to use same again bin.bash. That means which directory you want to go. Okay, hit enter. So you'll go inside again. If you want to come out again. This time again, I can use the, instead of container, I can use the name. So use it. So I'll say like /etc. So it will give you this error. So it won't allow you to go. So actually you need to use bin bash, or I can use simply bash also. See, you'll get something like this. Okay, so this is how you can go inside the container and come outside the container. Now the problem is, if I type, so for example, see service Nginx status, because that image is already having uh, Nginx, and it stopped actually. I'm going to start it actually. Service Nginx, I'll say start. Just imagine I'm going to start it. Status Nginx is running. Now what I want is, how do you connect to this container? That is the challenge. See, by default you can't connect to the container. One thing you need to remember is, when you install the Docker, let me come out of here. If I type ifconfig, right? If I type ifconfig, by default, when you first create the machine, right, you will have only Ethernet 0 and loopback actually. You don't have anything else. Once you install the container, or once you install the Docker, it will create a interface which is actually called as Docker bridge. And if you see the IP, it is in 172.17.0.1. It's a private IP address. Now what will happen, I'm going to explain about a detail about networking next week, guys, so don't worry. Now what will happen is, whenever you create a container, by default it will create a virtual interface, and it will take a particular IP. It will take IP from this range in 172.17, right, in this range. So okay, fine, what exactly the IP of this container ID? So what I can do, docker inspect and give the container ID, hit enter, and the IP address using is 172.17.02 is the IP address of the container, and the gateway is 172.7.0.1, which is this one. So what is happening at the back end? Now just imagine imagine this is your EC2 machine or Docker basically. And what will happen, your Docker, you have something called as Ethernet 0, guys, which need to go to the internet and everything. So I'm going to call it as ETH0. Okay, now what will happen is, here you have a Docker bridge here, which is actually Docker 0, and it will do two things actually. It will work as a firewall, and it will also do the NAT, that means network address translation. And it is actually connected to, I'm going to explain more when we speak about network, guys, so don't worry about right now, but just here it is actually connected to your Ethernet. Now imagine if you have multiple containers here, it can be multiple containers. Multiple containers. So I'm going to say container one. So like I'm going to give a name as C1, and I'm going to say C2, and finally C3. So what will happen is, now every time, this is the gateway, Docker 0 is the gateway, and what is the default IP address we have? It will take automatically. We can give as well, we can also create the custom networks actually, but it is too early, so we really don't need right now. So by default it has created 172.17.0.1. Now what will happen, every container which we create by default creates in this one It is basically, I can call it as it's called as a namespace, or I can also call as a Docker network, guys. So it will falls under Docker network 0, and it will take a certain IP, some sequential IP. That means the next IP will take 0, 2 here, 3, and I can also give this one is 4, like this. Okay, and it will be sequential. It will take automatically. Shall I prove it to you? Let's do that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 more containers. This time I'm going to give name. Actually, right now if you say docker ps, right, you're just seeing the machine. Right now let's see docker run. I'm going to give hyphen it. Now I'm going to give name, actually hyphen name. I'm going to say c2. Then I'm going to give host name. Actually, now you'll get confused. Okay, what is name and what is host name? Now name is nothing but what it will display here, what you are seeing, right? It is displaying as infallible matrix, right? So now here it will show this name c2, or I can give like this. I'm going to give outside c2, and the host name is, I give inside C. That means, see, earlier if I log in, right? Okay, let me, I think I have one more here, right? I'm going to say, see, docker exec hyphen it. See, if I put bash, now it is actually getting a host name like this. Actually, I really don't want the container ID as a host name. I want to have inside C2 as a host name. So outside hyphen name give the name outside, whereas host name gives the container host name. Okay. Now I'm going to say Sriharsha the same v3. See, I really don't want to go inside the container. I want to simply create the container. So if I use it, right, what it will do is it will create the container and make me to go inside the container. See, hit enter, and if you see, it will create it, and then I should be go inside it actually. So come on. Okay, I forgot to give this one, guys. Okay, forgot to give. Right now I'm inside the container only, by the way, because I forgot to give the bash. Okay, I'm going to control C. I'm going to run it again, but I think I should get error actually. To go bash, hit enter. Okay, sorry. Space I need to give. Now it is saying that one you already created the outside 2 already is there. So if I say docker ps, right, it is already saying that I have a container created. But if you see docker ps is not showing anything, because the container docker ps only shows us the containers which are running. It won't show the containers which are stopped. If you use docker ps-a, it should show, see, the container which stops. So I'm going to remove this docker thing, docker rm, hit this, it will be deleted. Now I'm going to run again, hit enter. Now if you see, there is a container created and I'm inside the container, saying that one inside c2. If I come out docker ps, then you see the name is outside c2. So at docker level the name is outside c2. Once you go inside, I gave the name as inside c2. This is how you can assign the names as well as the inside names at docker level as well as the host level. But all these things are really doesn't matter, guys. When it comes to containers, containers are very dynamic in nature. They come, they go. We really don't bother about what is the name of the container. So let me tell you, people, when you search for Kubernetes, all these things, they will always say treat the containers as cattle. Treat the containers as cattle, not as pets. What is the difference between pets and cattle? Pets are nothing but who you love every day and then you take care of that one, and the purpose is different, right? Cattle is something like a livestock, like cows, buffaloes, everything. They are cattle actually. So what you need to do is, the reason I'm trying to say is, you have a lot of emotional connection with your pets if you have a dog or something, when compared to your cattle. Basically, don't tell them I have a very good relationship with my buffalo. Don't do that, okay? So please don't say that. What I'm just saying, So cattle is different and pets are different. So you need to treat the containers as a cattle, guys. That means these things will keep on going and coming. When I explain you about the Docker Swarm. So at the back end, you have a lot of containers keep on, whenever there is a requirement, the number of containers will increase. Whenever the requirement